On today's vacation / evergreen episode of the Coping Hour, we take a trip down memory lane. We get weird. We review some old Rookie of the Year Motown Noah footage. Stick around. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 1st of December, year of our Lord 2023. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle. Evergreen episode on the horizon. We made it. If you're listening to this in real time, maybe a few days after it releases, I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm probably on a beach somewhere. Who even knows where I am? I probably don't even know where I am. I've got a nice little fruity drink on the side, a little something, respecting the culture, of course. Got some fits I'm going to get off. I'm excited, man. We're really pumped to get down there. I don't think I'm going to do like a whole travel recap when we get back, but I'm sure I'll spend like 10 minutes or something on it at the end of the episode when we return. As a quick update, I have said this, but just to reiterate it, Monday's episode will not exist because I will still be in Puerto Rico, and there just wasn't enough time for me to get two hour-long podcasts in the chamber. So I had said that I'll maybe try to make up for it, release one on Wednesday or something. But regardless, even if I'm not able to do that, the Friday episode, we will be returning a week from today regardless, and then the schedule should just be the schedule after that. So what are we going to be doing today? Because I had said that if we're going to be doing something evergreen, I want to make it worth people's while. And what I originally thought to do was a recap and sort of a deep dive into what ended up being my favorite season in the NBA ever, the 2017-2018 season, and the impact that it had on me as I don't know, what would I have been, a 20-year-old at the 20-year-old at the time? Yeah, I would have been 19 because I would have turned 20 in 2018. So I was 19, right? I'm in my formative years. My brain didn't have that many wrinkles. It was pretty smooth. And to watch, that iteration of LeBron do what he did to everybody that year was special. And I then realized, wait a second, Nick, I think you've already done this before. I'm pretty sure you've already made a video about this. So I went back in my channel, and sure enough, one of the first videos that I ever uploaded was about this topic. It's about 10 minutes long. So then I had to pivot. And I thought to myself, why don't we just revisit that? Why don't we just go back and revisit some of the old Motown Noah videos where I know there are going to be some dynamite takes, and some also that are just going to be freezing cold and have aged in a way that it's just garbage. I think this would be fun for two reasons. One, because it's kind of double content. You'll get to hear an old me give a spiel, and then I'll chime in here and there. But the other part of this is I know how many people sort of miss that old content. So I just think it could be kind of a fun trip down memory lane to visit that rookie year Motown Noah, as it were, the proverbial Derrick Rose of NBA YouTube, which honestly, as my journey advances, feels like a even more apt of a title. So it might get kind of clunky. I don't honestly know as an audio experience how this is going to turn out. So I do sincerely apologize in advance if it just doesn't create a good listening experience if you're exclusively on Spotify listening to this. But if you're on YouTube, it should be fine. We've talked in the last couple episodes about, in order to make this show as good as it can be, we got to just throw fastballs. So here's my first fastball, the first video we're going to be checking out. Let's get into it. And as promised, first video on the docket today is titled The 2018 NBA Playoffs, a Storylines Paradise. For posterity, on the YouTube channel at least, I will link all of the videos that we use in here in the description. So I guess there's really no reason to go back and check them out. I'll still do it though, I guess, for posterity. So let's jump into it. I'll try not to interrupt myself too much. I'll try to just kind of let the video breathe, and we can kind of just have fun with it. I don't know. Let's see where it goes.
You and I are by design as human beings susceptible to forgetfulness or the diminishment of human achievement, and these are two of the many qualities that can be attributed to what is called having a rainforest mind. Now, having said rainforest mind is generally tied to having some sort of a diagnosed form of anxiety or depression, something that at least 6.5% of all adult Americans will deal with over the course of a year. And you're probably thinking, Nick, why is this information pertinent?
I am
because
thinking
when it comes to the 2018 NBA playoffs, people forget how freaking bananas it was. This is my way of saying go to a therapist if you forgot. Something that we are also guilty of if we're human beings is we like to draw. We like to draw a lot of things, sometimes pictures, sometimes shapes, but more than anything else, conclusions. A conclusion that we drew in 2018 was that LeBron James was the best player in the world who had just played the best individual season that anyone had ever played in the history of modern basketball.
Okay, I just gotta... What the fuck is this guy talking about? I know how early this was, and I can tell that I just was like... I was so committed to making this like a routine, but that like some of this is just gonna come off as like so like bleh. That conclusions line. That's a fucking amazing bit.
Basketball, true. Also that the finals sucked. Also true. But let me tell you something, the culmination, the product of what was this great NBA playoffs, while it did stink, let's turn back the clock a little bit. Let me jog your memory. First, we all know this, 2018, before the season even starts, the Cleveland Cavaliers have a gun to their head, and they have to trade Kyrie Irving to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Isaiah Thomas, among other things, but you know where we're going. I like to keep these videos concise. This resulted in a chemistry catastrophe. More on that later. Going into the playoffs, you had a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves making the playoffs for the first time since 2004. Additionally, the Philadelphia 76ers making the playoffs for the first time since 2012, and what became our first indication that, wait a second, is the process really about to work? Is Sam Hinkie a genius? Yes. The Toronto Raptors won 59 games.
Facts, previous Nick. Sam Hinkie is still a genius. I am so happy that I had the foresight, even in what year would have this have been, 2020? Like the summer of 2020, I'm so happy that I had the presence of mind to acknowledge his genius at the time. It's also crazy that it like wasn't that long ago that we were thinking about the Philadelphia 76ers as like the laughingstock of the NBA. And I know that we all consciously know that, right? But it is like we it's not that we forget it, but I think we forget how not that long ago it was. So let's get back to the video.
The Houston Rockets set a franchise record, 65 wins. Wow, impressed. You had a team like Portland, who we thought going into the playoffs was actually kind of a sneaky low pick. Even though they had to get through two buzzsaws, people liked Portland. More on that later. Now, the playoffs start, and San Antonio squeaks into the playoffs for the 21st consecutive year. But this year was weird. Things were different. Why were things so different? What the heck was going on in San Antonio this year? If you remember, because we talk about this a lot. We talk about Kawhi getting traded. We talk about him winning a championship in Toronto. But we don't talk about the why. We don't talk about why he was traded. And you know why I think that is? Because we don't know. We still don't understand. From everything that we know, everything else is just speculative and rumors. There was mistrust between Kawhi and the Spurs medical staff, and now the infamous Uncle Dennis from Kawhi's camp. There was a whole thing, and it was weird. Kawhi was gone. Up until this point, game one in the series, Kawhi had only played 9 games for the Spurs this season. If you want to get Galaxy brain and put your tinfoil hat on, he was dodging Zaza. But nonetheless,
also a good bit. I don't know what I'm talking about by saying, first of all, honestly, I think not a bad job covering this so far, if I can pat myself on the back. But I just want to say, we do know why. I said, we don't know why, and then proceeded to fucking explain why he got traded. Like, yeah, Uncle Dennis, like, forced Kawhi's hand, not forced Kawhi's hand, but Uncle Dennis paved the way to get Kawhi Leonard not to Toronto, but, like, to Toronto. Let's keep going.
That's chalk for the Warriors. Houston wins their first-round series. Portland, I said we're going to get back to this. Yeah. And what eventually became the first domino to fall, one of the first, not the first, domino to fall, and Terry Stotts getting fired from Portland recently for 4 first-round exits in 5 years. Drew Holiday clamped Damian Lillard for 4 games harder than anyone's been clamped in the history of basketball ever.
Facts.
No answers for him whatsoever offensively for Portland.
I'm like ad-libbing my own video.
As Anthony Davis once said, that's all, folks. Philadelphia beats Miami in 5. Wow, the process. Look at you guys. This is so cute. The rookie Celtics are looking real cute, but then we get to the Cleveland Cavaliers and that aforementioned chemistry catastrophe. Yeah, when they had to flip the half of their roster at the trade deadline just 2 months prior. No more Derrick Rose, no more Dwayne Wade, no more Isaiah Thomas. Now it's Larry Nance and it's Jordan Clarkson. And it's weird, but it kind of works and it's kind of fun. The 4-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers go into that 5-seeded Indiana Pacers series. And here's the thing. The series was great. All comes to a head in Game 5. The final 2 possessions of that game were this. Victor Oladipo drives to the basket. LeBron swats it off the backboard with 3 seconds left. What people seem to forget was that it was definitely a goaltend.
It was.
But I digress.
I still stand
because
by
on
that.
the opposite end, LeBron James catches the inbound pass, 1 dribble, bam, right between the eyes, knocks down the 3 at the buzzer. Cleveland goes up 3-2, a commanding series lead.
The funniest thing about that game, if you guys remember in real time, the Cavs are in this like knife fight against the Pacers the whole series, and it's in Game 5. LeBron hits that game-winning shot, and people are talking about it as if it was like. And by the way, like I said earlier, this was the season where LeBron was the best that he has ever been. 17-18, LeBron James is the best basketball player that I have ever personally been alive for, right? This is like orange shoebox LeBron 15 PE iteration of LeBron. Like, remember that shit he was throwing down in against Portland? He had that one like between his like back or like behind his back between somebody else's legs. I think against like I don't remember who it was against, but they were wearing the gray uniform. LeBron was doing voodoo shit this year, right? And we were talking about that game as if it was like a legacy altering thing. But when you really kind of start to water it down, it's like it's Game 5 of the first round of the fucking playoffs. They didn't even win the series because of that shot. Like, they did end up winning the series, but it wasn't because of that shot. So it is very funny to me to look back on that and be like, it does not matter. Like, it's a game-winning shot in the playoffs at the buzzer. Like, that shit matters. But because it was LeBron, there was a weight to it that I think we can look back on and we can kind of go like, okay, all right, back to the video.
But what bothered me, even as a LeBron stan, was this: the legacy talk on Twitter after that game was just.
All right, well, I'm not skipping this. You're probably just gonna hear me from 3.5 years ago give the same fucking spiel that I just did. Well, let's hear it.
It was peak Twitter. It was the quintessential embodiment of what you think would happen after a game where LeBron James just hit a buzzer beat. Oh my gosh, can you built different? I'm never going to forget where I was for this. I'm going to tell my grandkids about that shot. Really? You're going to tell your grandkids? I remember where I was when LeBron James hit a buzzer beater 3 to take a commanding 3-2 series lead in the first round of the playoffs against the 5-seeded Indiana Pacers. That's what you're going to tell your kids?
Right.
I digress. They move on. Toronto moves on to the.
And again, it's like no hate. I'm a bronze-sexual, like, until I die. But what the fuck, man?
Second round. Not that much happened in the second round, if I'm being completely honest with you. Oh, yeah, except LeBron just continued to anoint himself as the mayor of what was formerly known as LeBronto. And this is a perfect time to remember that LeBron James made up a basketball move that year that he invented that year and retired it forever. And I don't know why, because his field goal percentage on it was like 150%. So if you don't remember, it was the game-winning shot that he had against Toronto. He did this like 15 times this season, especially in the playoffs. It was that runner that he had going baseline. He would it was like a floater that would just go off the glass, and it was good every single time. The dude straight up never went back to it for the rest of his career up until this point in real life. I still haven't seen that shot. But anyways,
I just want to say, since then, I think he's pulled that shot out for the Lakers like literally twice. So it's not actually in the rafters, but there's cobwebs and it's collecting a lot of dust. You know what I mean? I still stand by that he invented that shot. One was at Game 3 against Toronto with that shot. I think that's the video that which, by the way, what the fuck was I doing putting video clips in my videos? Who did I think I was? Did I think I was Rusty? It still bothers me that he won't shoot that shot. Back to the video.
Golden State runs through New Orleans. Houston had, I don't remember who they had. Utah, I think. Yeah, they ran through Utah, and then Boston ran through Philadelphia. Yes, so now we go to the conference finals. Boston Celtics versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Houston Rockets versus the Golden State Warriors. Now, if you're a LeBron stan, you're going to say that you weren't scared during that Boston series.
You're a fucking
They had
liar.
home court advantage. Their backs were against the wall. That Celtics team looked good. The Cavs were just kind of squeaking along. It was just, you're lying. Stop being retroactive and weird. Now, this series was interesting for a multitude of reasons. It featured a lot of Larry Nance and a lot of Jeff Green. Now, naturally, it also featured a lot of LeBron James. But more than anything else, it featured 4 rookies from Boston. You had Jason Tatum, you had Daniel Tice, you had Jabari Bird, and you had Semi Ojeleye.
Who gives a fuck about any of them other than Jason Tatum? Like, Semi Ojeleye, like, yeah, I mean, sure. Daniel Tice, I mean, I don't. Jabari Bird, who fucking cares, Nick? Shut up.
I don't know why Jabari Bird gets the nod over Semi, but hey. Now, if memory serves, well, let me let you in on a little secret. If you're new to me as an entity, I don't do research. I don't take notes. So
Still
if I'm
true.
wrong about things, that's why. Just from memory. Anyways, pretty sure Larry Nance went massive in Game 6. Jeff Green was massive in the closing minutes of Game 7. Jeff Green, the perennial glue guy for over half of the NBA teams for the last almost decade and a half now. Terry Rozier, scary Terry Rozier, has his coming out party in this series. Jason Tatum, a rookie Jason Tatum dunking on LeBron and after the game being like, I had his poster in my room growing up. Like, this is so wild. It was kind of awesome, actually. It didn't matter. Cavs in 7. They go to their, fourth consecutive NBA Finals, and I think LeBron's 7th. Houston, Golden State. Now, this is it. For a large portion of the season, Houston was actually the favorite to go to the Finals, even throughout the playoffs.
People forget.
And even during that series, especially when they took a commanding 3-2 lead over the Golden State Warriors, going back to Oracle. Now, by this point, Chris Paul's hamstring had a pretty untimely death. We all know what happened in Game 7. But let me tell you something. The reason it was particularly annoying to me was because we finally, and now at the time, you have to remember, I know that Chris Paul and the Suns are looking like they're probably going to go to the Finals right now.
Oh, they did, actually, by the way. This was the Phoenix-Milwaukee year. So that ended up being a fucking dynamite take. Good job 3.5 years ago, Nick.
I don't have a dog.
I was going to say, what am I fucking knocking on wood for? Am I about to say I don't have a dog in this fight?
Paul and the Suns are looking like they're probably going to go to the Finals right now. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't know why I care.
Yeah,
this
cares?
was one of the first times in Chris Paul's career that a Chris Paul team didn't maximize itself in the regular season. We actually saw almost an unlocked version of them in the playoffs, like they could go to the next level. But as is life with Chris Paul, some inexplicable injury happened and derailed the whole thing. Of course, the style of play that Daryl Morey and James Harden co-invented came to a head in Game 7 when they missed 27 consecutive threes. And here's the thing. People like to say, like, well, that style of play doesn't work. They won 65 games. All they had to do was not miss all those threes, and they were going to be in the Finals, not choke Game 6. Would have been in the Finals. So, you know. The narrative that James Harden will just inexplicably flop against Steph and the Warriors in the playoffs, well, it happened again. You want to talk about the precursor to James Harden, Kevin Martin rolling in his grave. They tried to attack Steph that entire series, and it worked. And it didn't matter in the end. But here's a little fun fact about those conference finals. So there's only 2 other times throughout NBA history that both conference final series went 7 games. That was in 1979 and in 1963. Fun fact about those, as you can imagine, the home teams won in both instances. The interesting part is in 2018, 2 Game 7s, Western Conference and Eastern Conference, the road team won both of them. Golden State and Cleveland, both on the road. Wow, you learned something today.
I was just going to say, I learned something today. Holy shit, I'm in this guy's brain.
We don't need to talk about Game 1. You know what JR did. You know that George Hill missed the free throw. You know that it was one of the greatest individual performances that you had ever seen in your life. Stop lying. It was. But ultimately, we knew that it was over. You know, Kevin Love can throw as many gorgeous outlet passes as he wants. It's not really going to matter because as soon as Game 2 started, the energy was flat. Everything was dead, and it just sucked. It just sucked. The finals sucked. What were the biggest narratives from the NBA Finals that season? Like the culmination, again, of a great playoffs. All these series were so fun. There were so many fun storylines to follow. And then the finals, which I don't care about what part 3 or part 4 of the Warriors and the Cavs in a row. It sucked. And to be honest with you, the Rockets-Cavs probably would have sucked too. But what were the narratives? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, I probably said that. I didn't explain that, but what I probably meant by that is it would have sucked because Houston would have done the same shit to Cleveland that Golden State ended up doing. I don't think that's true. I still think it probably would have gone like 6. But I've maintained, I think I've even said it on this show, that the 17-18 Houston Rockets are one of the best teams to never win a championship. I mean, you're hearing me talking about them. They won 65 games. I think Houston probably would have won that series, but the Cavs definitely had a way higher percentage chance at pulling it off than they ever did against Golden State. After Game 1, it ended the way that it did, and you kind of just had this pit in your stomach where you're like, "Fuck!" Like that was it. Like that was the series. So video's almost done. Let's wrap it up.
LeBron showing up after the series ends with the cast on his hand because after Game 1 he punched a whiteboard and shattered his hand. A story that Jordan Clarkson has since corroborated, and he has no reason to lie at this point. So that's interesting. Another one, was that the series that Steph out-rebounded Tristan Thompson for majority of it? I think that was the year before in 2017. Pretty sure that was 2017.
It did happen, though.
That was the year that Steph probably should have won Finals MVP. I think we were all on board with that. I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, I think Steph had Game 1 and Game 2, and then Game 3 and Game 4 was when Cade popped off. I think it was something like that. That was it. Like, that was it. That sucked.
That's the end of the video. What the fuck? All right, yeah.
Everyone
I mean, I don't have any.
subscribe.
Whoa! No free ads here. No free ads. No pardon my take. Let's back this up.
Clarkson, and it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, no major notes here. I think the funniest thing, if I can do some inside baseball kind of behind the scenes here, this setup was basically like, obviously the closet doors were broken. There's nothing I can do. There are like 3 different lamps that are on the ground around me, and that was my lighting. And then my phone was on like a ring light like holder, but we didn't have the rest of the stand, so I had to jam it into a full basket of laundry, and the clothes were just like, I packed it all together so that it would like hold my iPhone still, because I was still shooting these on my iPhone. Man. All right. Let's move to the next video. Alrighty, this one's going to be a little bit shorter. It is called Every Championship Team Needs Him. And then the thumbnail was like a silhouette of a certain NBA player. But you need to watch the video to figure out who we're talking about. From 3.5 years ago. How did this age? Let's check it out.
The ebbs and flows of the game of basketball can stylistically be correlated to a lot of things in life, but I think more than anything else in the world, I think you can look directly at music. I'm looking at you, music. Are you? Oh, there you are. Hi, music. Hello, music. You look like basketball. So the reason that I think that they're so similar is because if you think of any song in any genre, compositionally or lyrically or structurally, in any genre, they're generally going to look the same, spanning decades, right? And it's going to take revolution after revolution, spinning those same tracks, getting them all pressed to vinyl before something magical happens. A culmination of a bunch of genres happen. Like, think of rap, for example, okay? So the evolution of hip-hop was like funk and electronic and R&B and spoken word and all these different things into a little pot. And then what's in this little pot? What is this thing? Oh, it's rap. Wow, that's pretty cool. What should we do with this? We should use it forever? Awesome. Let's use that. That was really fun. I like that. Basketball. That happens all the time. Happens all the time in basketball. Sometimes it's going to take 10 to 15 years, but there's going to be that generational talent who completely shifts to the paradigm of basketball. And stylistically, the way that it's played is going to change before our very eyes more often than not because of one player. Now, of course, this is super rare, and it's why it only happens every 10 to 15 years. And the player that we're going to be talking about today is not directly responsible for that, but they do fit the blueprint perfectly. So when one player leads the charge and enough teams have to follow suit because they think, wow, that really works. We should do what that player and what that team is doing. When enough teams do that and follow suit, eventually you're going to have said evolution. So today, the game of basketball has followed suit with the likes of gender and sexuality.
Bro,
and
get to the point.
Over the last few years. Now, to whose credit you decide to give Rockets, and you're probably on a better track.
I'm skipping. I'm calling an audible.
Don't matter anymore.
There we go.
Probably on a better track right there. But ultimately, positions don't matter anymore. And if you're going to sit there and you're going to try to tell me that they matter, gross. Because they don't. And I think that honestly, what is this? What is that? Is that a little...
It's a hole in my shirt. Yeah, it's still there.
Hole. That is simply no good. Now, the product of this has been smaller guys getting thrown into some wonky lineups, generally tasked with defending anywhere between 1 through 5, because that's where the game is at today.
I'm pausing this. We're a third of the way through this video. I haven't even fucking mentioned Bruce Brown's name. Why did you guys give this fucking idiot a platform? He doesn't, get to the point, dude. I understand. I totally understand what I was doing and what I was going for. But I was trying so hard to make sure that... And by the way, I'm criticizing... I'm not inviting you fuckers in the comments to shit on me. You can go to these videos individually and comment if you want. But I can tell how focused I was on making it sound like I, really knew what I was talking about. I was so hell-bent on that. And that my opinion... Not that it should be your opinion, but trying to convince you so desperately that I'm right. Whereas now, I'll just, throw out a take and I don't care. Oh, everybody hated it? Oh, no. It was probably hilarious, right? But back then, I cared a lot about that. Let's get back to the video. Maybe I'll fucking mention Bruce Brown, which, by the way, is who this video is supposed to be about.
More often than not, I also feel like that they're going to be defensive specialists while not being completely incapable offensively. Defense is what they're going to specialize in. So because of that, what player does every championship team need this year? If you're a contender, who do you want? Who are we talking about today? It's Chris Kaman. Yeah. No, it's Bruce Brown. Now, as a Pistons fan, I don't...
I don't. Maybe I'm corny for laughing at my own bits. I didn't remember that I did that. That was funny as fuck.
I need to tell you that we have often missed on players, or actually drafted the right players and then have completely given up on them, like Chris Middleton or Spencer Dinwiddie. Or sometimes we'll actually hit on these guys and then we just inexplicably give up on them. But in Bruce's case, I think it's really interesting because when we traded him to Brooklyn, the one thing that you knew about, well, we need to go back further. Up and down in the G League in his first year after being a second-round pick, playing under Jim Larinaga in Miami. Played a lot of point guard in college. Then he comes to the NBA. We try to move into a shooting guard position. And you notice one thing about him. Not entirely capable offensively, but the tools are certainly there. It's his defense, though, that really gets you excited. So after his first year, we go to Vegas, okay? It's the Summer League, and we put Bruce at the point guard, and he put up the second triple-double in the history of the Summer League, which was technically actually the third one that ever happened. He was just the second player to do it. Bruce Brown was awesome in the Summer League, and we were like, wait, point guard Bruce Brown is a thing?
It was a thing, and I don't think I mentioned this. It was Bruce Brown and Lonzo. And I still to this day, once or twice, every other month, I'll be like, do you guys also remember when Bruce Brown was a point guard for the Pistons for like one summer? I remember that. Back to the video.
You go into that regular season, and Casey was often reluctant to actually put him in that position, but whenever he was given minutes at the point, he emerged as a really interesting playmaker, a really dynamic off-ball threat, and obviously more than anything in the world, a defensive specialist, okay? I remember very vividly he locked down Kyrie, James Harden, and Trae Young all in the span of a month. Now, of course, that goes with some like one-on-one, specifically like one-on-one on-ball defense. I think Kyrie actually ended up with a triple-double in the game that I'm referencing, but when Bruce was guarding him specifically, they kept switching off of him for this very reason.
Yep.
It was free. It was free every single time. Offensive.
I think in that game, Kyrie and when Bruce, I know exactly what game I'm talking about. I think Kyrie went like 2 for 7 when Bruce was on him. So there you go.
You saw his game improve a lot. He was attacking the rim pretty confidently. He really liked that three ball a lot from the corner. That proved to be a very high percentage shot for him. And then inexplicably, he was traded to Brooklyn. Now, the reason I was okay with this was because we learned something about Bruce, is that Detroit had accumulated these so many players on a roster where it was like all these young guys would be really good role players, but you're asking them to do things that like Donovan Mitchell would have to do, and that's just not going to fly. What everybody knew about Bruce Brown, if you were a Pistons fan, was that he was a pest defensively. Offensively, he was a fun little playmaker. He was really creative with the ball, great cutter. He was shifty. There was something there. But ultimately, we realized that he was sort of the Tony Allen type, right? This guy who is so fluid. He kind of makes up his own position, but it's not what you need on a rebuilding team. You know where you do need that, though? A contender. Because that is a glue guy that I want going to war for me in a 7-game series. That is a guy who you look at Game 3 against Milwaukee, if you're Brooklyn, and you look at the way that Brook Lopez in drop coverage is defending Bruce Brown every time he would attack the rim and he would go downhill. Brook would just not put a hand up on Bruce's patented floater that he loves so much. And what happened? He was outscoring Milwaukee for a majority of that second quarter. But when
I gotta say that floater, I remember it very well. He even used to do it on the. No, I'm thinking of Reggie, the baseline floater. But Dwayne Casey like fucking hated floaters inexplicably. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's verified or sourced. I don't remember if this is just a vibes thing that I got from watching him. But Dwayne Casey never seemed like the biggest. And I think the reason I felt that way or heard that at some point was because of Reggie Jackson. So it would make sense. Back to the video.
You have a guy whose position is often, it's difficult to articulate what exactly he's doing.
He's a center fielder.
Except, if I had to quantify it, everything. Jumping
center
into
fielder.
Passing lanes, really shifty on his feet, super athletic on both ends of the floor, incredibly agile, going to out-hustle pretty much 95% of the league unless your name is like Bobby Portis. Star players are ultimately just as valuable as the role players on a contending team. If you're going to win a championship, you need 10 to 11 guys to show up for a 7-game series. And if one of those guys can be anything but a liability on both ends of the floor, who I can need to play somewhere between 15 to 25 minutes a game, yeah, I want that on my basketball team. If I can play the role of an agitator and I can go on offense and no one's going to pay attention to me because that's not really what I'm known for, that's free.
Okay, we're going to cancel this before it plays another Pardon My Take video. Was that a Ukrainian frontline documentary? Oh, boy. I am certainly the agitator. That much is definitely true. That video just kind of pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. I believe very firmly that if you are ever going to start a YouTube channel and you're going to start a podcast, you're going to be in front of a camera, behind a microphone. You need to believe in your product. You need to believe in what you're doing. And if you show any reluctance, that'll come through, and then your audience won't even believe in what you're doing, right? Like, there has to be some form of confidence. Boy, did I have it in that video. But the amount of just like, it's like how many NBA buzzwords can I throw out there? You know, I'm not even commenting on the fact that I should be taking a huge fucking victory lap right now, that I was like the first one in the door on the whole Bruce Brown thing, who was like, if you are a contending team, you need this fucker on your team. If someone wants to do me a favor and like go on Wikipedia and see who won the championship this last year and then see what team Bruce Brown was playing for, get back to me and let me know. But until then, let's go to the next video. This one feels like it may be, I don't know how brutal this one's going to be. Title of the video: some of these expectations for Cade Cunningham are weird. The draft was just about to happen. We obviously, with the first pick, the lottery had already happened. We knew we were taking Cade. I know there was definitely some rumblings that we could have gone with Jalen Green. We could have gone with Evan Mobley. But the larger expectation was that was noise, and, Cade was the pick. So we got a 9.5-minute video in the chamber here. I am a little bit nervous about this one because, obviously, I haven't watched any of these videos. So I don't – I'm nervous about this one. Let's jump into it, though.
Listen, there is a rather large elephant in the room, and I think I've done a very good job propaganda. I've done a really, really good job creating propaganda about Cade Cunningham and his arrival to Detroit. And I promise this will be the last video I make about Cade for like a little bit, because I know I've talked about him a lot. And then once this is done, you guys can go back to being like, can you make an Orlando Magic video? No.
You fuckers still do that. You still do that too. We just did one with the Wizards the other day. You never talk about my basketball team. And I'm not trying to shit on the guy who sent the email, but I still get that.
Because I care about how my videos perform. The number one thing that has pissed me off, of which there are several things, but I think the number one thing, and I've been very clear about this, Rockets fans and Cavs fans feeling eerily entitled to Cade on their basketball team. You did not win the lottery. You did not tank well enough. I'm really, really sorry that the lottery ball. Mark Tatum hates you guys. It's not my fault. Fuckers. I'm sorry that he likes Detroit better. Be better. It's almost like in Horizon Zero Dawn, which, by the way, when that came out, was, I think, the most impressive graphical achievement in the history of video games. And then God of War came out and was like, actually us. And I was like, Horizon Zero Dawn, still a really good game. I can already tell this little bit is going to take a minute. So if you don't care about video game references, go ahead and speed ahead like 60 seconds, because, again, this might take me a second. She was doing
okay, yeah, we're going to actually...
Turn your face to the sun, child, which by...
What am I talking about? We're skipping ahead here.
Picture of me with my arm around Cade Cunningham. But anyways, I think Pistons the Sun is a picture of me with my arm around Cade Cunningham. Right. But anyways, I think Pistons fans, I guess it's really basketball fans, but just for the sake of it, we'll just use Pistons fans as an example because it's relevant. Pistons fans have been so saturated in their self-perpetuated misery and skepticism and, frankly, pessimism because of past regimes and what their blunders have been in the draft, that we're now lying to ourselves about what Cade Cunningham is, which is in turn talking about what he's actually not, because you feel like you have to overcompensate and overcorrect for the fact that you don't think people want Cade to be in Detroit. And for the most part, I don't think most people do, the way that, oh my gosh, Anthony Edwards has to go to Minnesota. Oh, that sucks. People do that with teams like every single year. The point that I'm getting to here is there's a sect of Pistons Twitter who I've encountered on multiple occasions who try to convince everybody that Cade, coming out of the draft, is a better prospect than Zion.
Well, okay. Do we have enough time to, and I'm probably going to say something and sound like a smartass when I unpause this video, and I'm honestly scared to do it, because I don't think we have enough time to unpack that. Who would you take right now? Would you take Zion or would you take Cade? I'm trying as hard as I can to not be biased about it. I mean, I think I would take Zion. I mean, first of all, at the time, yeah, that was a bananas take. Like that was insane. I think even addressing any part of Pistons Twitter, even the part that I liked, as if there was like credence to anything that they were saying, is already chronically online in and of itself. So at that point, honestly, is kind of null and void because who gives a shit about what like 15 people on the internet are saying? Like they're not real. I mean, I would still take Cade, but if I'm being objective, I would take Zion. I think. No, Cade, I'm sorry. I'm taking you, dude.
No, I do not need to explain to you why that is the most asinine thing I have ever heard in my life. It's also annoying to me. I hate when people are like, oh, look at how this team has just missed on so many stars in the draft, and people always cite Detroit mainly because of Darko, as if now the Darko thing is an exception in and of itself, but it's just annoying to me. Look at any team, and they've missed on a superstar or at least a star at some point, like over the course of a decade. It happens with everybody, and unless you're Memphis, because it hasn't happened with Memphis recently. Cade Cunningham, Nick, get to the video. Talk about Cade.
Seriously,
an incredibly gifted and high IQ passer who can score at 3 levels, can play bully ball. I know that people like just draft experts are like, those low assist numbers for Cade Cunningham, that's a little bit worrisome. Yeah, it's not though, because you can easily find like a 30-minute supercut of all of the assist opportunities that Cade had at Oklahoma State. Like he wasn't just the engine that made that offense run. He was like the, I don't know, car people. If it's a Tesla, he was the battery. But like that, well, that's not. Cade was literally it, and it's not.
He was the car, fucker. Just say he was the car. He was the whole load. Pause.
To say like people miss open shots all the time. You could find super long supercuts of anybody missing a bunch of shots. But the point that I'm making is like he would set guys up effortlessly, especially because he got doubled all the time. You want to talk about Cade? You know what impresses me the most about Cade Cunningham? Something
Splitting
that nobody
doubles.
talks about nearly as much as they should. Throw 2 guys at him. Throw a double at Cade and watch what happens. Either he's going to throw an elite level slip pass for a guy who's 6'8", or he's going to split it effortlessly. Like the way that he's like a man, it's just gone. Like 2 bodies in case like I'm already gone. A lot of people question, a lot of you guys have actually asked me this, like how is it going to work with Killian? The thing with Killian and Cade is Killian is going to have to really adapt to an off-ball role, which is something that when he came back after his hip injury this past season, they really tried to integrate him into the offense with Corey Joseph in an off-ball role. And I think I've talked about this in a previous video, which is going to include him having to improve his jump shot and the efficiency with which he shoots it.
Yeah, so we kind of ended up just having to do the opposite. At the time that I said that was true because we thought that there was still a chance that Killian's shot was going to come around. And has it come around since then more frequently than it did 3 years ago? Like, yeah. I don't know if you look at the numbers, maybe it's like the exact same. But at least if you eyeball test it, on a nightly basis, his shots go in more than it feels like they used to. Whereas now, though, you would kind of just say, I actually want the ball in Killian's hands because he's a low turnover, high assist guy, right? So that's just kind of how that one's shifted. So that one's interesting because it's not that I was wrong. It was literally just like also the arrival of Jaden Ivey kind of changed everything too. So I didn't, it's not like we really had that context at the time yet. So I'm totally willing to admit when I have a dog shit take, but I actually don't think it wasn't inherently wrong. Back to the video.
If that doesn't happen though, that's not good.
Well,
because
it didn't.
Cade Cunningham needs the ball in his hands, and that's actually kind of another sneaky fun thing about Cade that I really, really enjoy is how fun he is off the ball. Like you're not going to classify him as a slasher or like like a baseline cutter. Like he can pull that off. It's definitely in his arsenal, but it's not like it's really fun. But in a primary setting, you're going to want him to be your primary initiator. And when he comes to Detroit, he's going to be surrounded by shooters. You have Sadiq Bey, who is a historically good three-point shooter as a rookie. You have Jeremy Grant. You have Frank Jackson, assuming he comes back, which we'll see about that. I'd like him to. You have Josh Jackson. You even have Isaiah Stewart. Like, you want to talk about one of the most interesting two-man games, the one of the most interesting potential two-man games on the roster. It's going to be Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart. Not just because Cade is an elite pick-and-roll passer, but because Isaiah Stewart can pick and pop. Like, I know that when people think about Isaiah, if you're not a Pistons fan, you probably just think of this really tough, big bully ball guy. People always liken him to Ben Wallace, which is just so annoying.
Wrong.
Even Ben was like, please stop doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't think enough people know Isaiah Stewart has a 3-ball. That's coming.
He can shoot that motherfucker, bro. Like, now we know that, right? You're watching this now. You're like, well, yeah, you're saying this like it was some hot take. We know Isaiah Stewart can shoot threes. No, we did not know that. When I said this, when I delivered this take, it was still like a kind of if you know, you know type of deal. If you go back and look at if you look at the game logs in his rookie season and the threes that he was taking, or rather the ones that he wasn't taking, it's a lot of zeros. And then like on some random nights, you'll see some ones and twos. You know what I mean? Maybe near the end of the season, there was like some threes or something like that. Well, obviously threes, but you know, he's like actually getting up attempts. So that, yeah, like good for previous Nick on that one. Isaiah Stewart can shoot that motherfucker 100%.
Actually, it's already here. I think after the whistle, Isaiah probably put up like 23s this past season. I swear to God, he made like 17 of them. Mm-hmm. And then additionally, I think he shot like a touch over 30%, which is definitely going to help. And I think it's also frustrating because like Pistons fans are like, we don't want Jalen Green. We don't want Evan Mobley. I totally understand that because you have the first pick, but the end game was get a top 3 pick. So it's annoying to me that we're now trying to downplay the talent of the former two, because the reality is that the top 3, they all have skills that are going to translate at the next level. And the one thing that I do hate about the draft is we do this every single year, and it's nobody's fault. It's just, this is just what we do, is you're like, man, 1, this guy's really good. At 2, this guy's really good. 3, this guy's really good. And it's always difficult for us to imagine a world in which these players aren't going to pan out. And this is especially the case this season. And it's entirely conceivable that they're all great. Because what was the Zion class? Was it? It was Zion, Ja. Was RJ 3? I don't remember who was 3rd off the top of my head.
I think.
But all those guys have turned out to be pretty good. So it's entirely conceivable that they could all be good. But you just kind of feel like one of these guys is going to be like the worst of these 3, and you just wonder who it's going to be. And right now, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Right now, the best is Evan Mobley. And then whoever you would put second between Jalen and Cade, I don't think people would. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I think Evan is so. The disparity between 1 and 2, no matter who you'd want to put there between Cade and Jalen, you know, if you put him up against Evan, I just don't think it's close. So that one, you know, people wanted Mobley first, like they really did. Obviously, I would never walk back what we did, though.
No. And whoever's worse, again, that could be completely marginal. Like it could be, we could be talking about like a Trey, Luka, Ayton. I want to say this, Luka, Trey, and Ayton.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't a scorching take, Nick, but okay.
Scenario where it's like they're all great in their own respective way, and being comparative is weird, and I always think that it is. I also want to say this about Cade. I got a text earlier today, and it was like, people think that Cade is this generational talent. Even Troy Weaver, by the way, the Pistons general manager, like a month or 2 before the lottery even happened, was like, I don't see any generational talents in this upcoming class. I don't see a LeBron. I don't see a Shaq. So that didn't all of the sudden change. And by the way, that's not a bad thing. So the text that I got today was, Cade's ceiling could very well be Jason Tatum with braids. How true is that? I don't know. Is it hilarious? Yes. Those of you who have been around for a long time know that I have a soft spot in my heart for guards who are over 6'5", which is one of the reasons I love Killian so much. And having a guy like Cade Cunningham, these primary playmakers who are like disguised as wings but are actually point guards, are like this new wave of basketball player. And it's super important to have them on your basketball team if you want to win games. So Cade Cunningham's going to help us win a lot of basketball games. I guess the
boy, oh boy. Time is a funny thing, man. I know he didn't play last year. I know he didn't. But what if I told you that since January 1st of 2023, the Detroit Lions have won more games than the Pistons? The Lions have won 10. The Pistons have won 9. The Pistons have played damn near like 60 more games than the Lions have. So again, I know Cade didn't play last year, but we are not winning a lot of games, as I elegantly put it.
Sorry, I know that these videos are always just all over the place, and I need to stop apologizing for it because at this point it's just what they are.
Yeah.
But I guess the overarching theme of what I'm trying to say is stop trying to convince yourselves that players are something that they're not just because you feel like everybody is against you. Like, which by the way, Cade was in Detroit today. He was at the Tigers game. And we want Cade chants. And Cade liked that. He smiled. He laughed. There's video of it. And so everyone can go cry because you don't have him, and I do. God, it feels so good.
Okay. I did not need that last part. Major pause there. Kind of like the face of like I'm seeing a fucking ghost here. Like I'm seeing the future and realizing what I just said was insane. Yeah, I mean, I remember, man, when he went to that Tigers game, because like I said earlier, we weren't entirely convinced that we were going to get him, and there were these pictures that were coming out where he's like in this suite with it was like him, Isaiah, Troy was there. Was Dwayne there? I don't remember. I think like Arn Tellem was there too. I don't remember what the crew was, but he was there, and the "We Want Cade" chants, like that did happen. People were like posting pictures with him like outside of the stadium, and it was happening, dude. Like, and I remember all this shit talking, like people, like especially Rockets fans, because you know they want the Texas guy, right? They want the kid from Texas. He's from Arlington, right? So, I would say that Rockets fans are probably happy with what they ended up with. Cavs fans won, and then Pistons fans like. I'm still ecstatic. Let's move to the next one. Alrighty. Main course here. I didn't know if I wanted to do this. I also haven't watched this in a really, really long time. Let's jump into the Cade interview because I actually think there are some fun, like inside baseball kind of behind the scenes things that I could kind of throw in here as like some commentary. I've talked a lot about this interview and what this what this experience was like, and you know, with the flight and being in Cleveland for All-Star Weekend. I've talked a lot about it, but there's still honestly some stuff in here that I haven't kind of gotten to share some what I think are interesting little tidbits about it. So without further ado, Cade Cunningham interview that I did during All-Star Weekend 2021.
Folks, your camera is not wrong. It's not lying. Your screen is correct. The NBA YouTube Rookie of the Year is back. Hello, hi, and I'm of course joined. I thought it would be appropriate if we were joined by what only I can describe as who I hope is the Rookie of the Year. We're joined by Cade Cunningham. Cade, we're here for All-Star Weekend. Thank you very much for being here.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
I want to say really quick, I had spent so much time prepping the questions and like the real meat and potatoes of the interview, because I wanted to make sure that he knew I was not there to fuck around and that I cared, man. Like I know you like as best as anybody could, like just doing like internet research and watching interviews and like talking to people and all this stuff. Like I cared so much about that. I honestly didn't even realize we had to be at this set at like a random like warehouse in Cleveland at like 9 a.m. And so I woke up in our Airbnb at like 7, and it immediately clicked with me that I had not prepped an intro. And so, you know, there's a million things going on, and it kind of like left my mind until he got there. And I was like, holy shit, I don't even know how I'm going to start this thing, which honestly is usually the only thing that I do know is how I'm going to start something, because to me, the first 30 seconds of anything are the most important, right? I would argue maybe even cut that in half, the first 15 seconds, because of what people's attention spans are like. You really got to pull people in. So I basically didn't know what I was going to say until I started to say it. And what came out just came out. We had a limited amount of time with him. I think we had 30 minutes. I spent 20 minutes in the interview. And so that one kind of got away from me at first.
I want to start. I originally had a different thing planned for this. One of our lovely producers handed me a statistic before we started. I said, I got to lead with this. There's no way I can do this interview without saying this to you.
Yeah.
Did you know that your index finger has more career ejections all time than Dikembe Mutombo? Did you know that?
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
a good stat, though.
You like that? Because he did, you know what I'm talking
Right,
about? 'Cause
right.
if you don't know what I'm talking about, I feel like you're going to be a diplomat and not really address it. Can I do it on your behalf?
You got it.
That was the stupidest in the world. If you Google Cade Cunningham, Jalen Smith, I'm not trying to put you in a box here. I don't mean to like off the rip. I'm not trying to do it.
I'm letting you go.
It was at the
I'm
bench.
giving you the keys.
You did it. You pointed to the bench, right? That's what it was.
Right.
He pointed.
Something, man.
All right. Well, all right. So, anyways, I wanted to treat this like it was a choose your own adventure game.
Yeah.
I want it for posterity. Cade, I think, has since mentioned he was fucking 100% pointing at Jalen Smith. Fuck that guy.
Do you
Talk
want
your
to start
shit,
with a
Cade.
good question or a bad question?
A bad one.
You dealt with this recently, actually. When a player is traded, how fast until they're kicked out of the group chat? Or do they leave under their own volition?
It's a great
Because
question.
you just had Josh and Trey go to Sacramento.
Right. I think it's a new group chat made. I don't even think you touch that group chat, really.
You got any green bubbles?
Whenever there's somebody new coming in, you just make a new group chat for them.
Okay, so when Bagley came in, you were like, who got his number first?
I think somebody sent Bagley our numbers, or somebody made a group chat, and then Bagley was like, send your name.
Okay.
You know
So like you let people say that because you've only dealt with it once. That's the first trade that you've had.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You got any green bubbles on the team?
Nah, I don't think we have anybody.
Even the coaches?
Sean Sweeney's ass.
Troy's green, right? Troy's green. He's got Troy Weaver's got that Nokia brick, right?
I almost want to say he was green at first. He might be blue now, though.
Really? He got the
think he
upgrade? He
transitioned.
got the upgrade with that T-Mobile 5G? Not an ad. He got the
He's smooth, though, man. He's smooth, though.
I tell you what. Can I
He's
tell you
smooth,
something?
though.
So I tried out for the G League. So I was at the Motor City Cruise tryout. They invited me to try out, right? And
What was that?
see, I learned something that day. I learned there are dudes like me who do this as like I talk about you guys, and then I learned that there are dudes who have hoop dreams. And there are guys, like,
Right.
I didn't know I was
It's a
going until
difference.
that day. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. It was cool. I got up. It was for a few days. It was tough.
sucked.
But anyways, I
It
saw Troy
sucked.
there, and like, man, he's got drip.
Yeah, he does.
He's nice.
smooth.
You know, I don't know if basketball is a touch. We can talk about basketball.
Let's
That's
talk
cool.
about it.
You want to talk about basketball? We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to ask you about something, because we hear about Cade the player a lot, and I like Cade the player. I love Cade the player. He's great. Cade the person intrigues me, though. You know, the book's kind of out. We kind of know something about you. I don't know if you know how much we know this.
Right. What is this?
He was smiling when he said that. And I can look back on it now, and I can hear the people in the background, and I know how things went, behind the scenes. And I know now that like he actually was interested. When he said that, I was fucking terrified. I was like, oh my God, like, am I leaning too hard into the bit? But I just had to soldier on. Back to the video.
During the Summer League, there was a clip that came out. I think it was Kong in the background.
Equipment
He was talking
manager
about what
of the
snacks
Pistons.
he had. And he said that he had peanut butter and jelly. And you immediately snapped, and you were like, peanut butter and jelly? You're a big peanut butter and jelly guy.
I am.
Have you perfected like the peanut butter to jelly ratio? And do you do like a 60-40 on either one?
I'm really more 50-50, honestly.
Okay.
But I think I perfected that back in high school. Montverde is when I really started my like peanut butter and jelly journey.
Can I ask you something about my
And
verb?
so
I'm sorry, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got it down now.
It's funny that you bring that up because I actually have a question about that. You're a professional, because that was a great segue. You went to Bowie, right? That's where you started.
Arlington Bowie.
Okay, that Bowie,
Yeah.
okay. And then you transferred to Montverde in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
Can you talk about like
I think
what
that
the,
was-
what the
I think you could see in the background. Wasn't Scotty on this team too? Scotty Barnes? Ben Simmons was a few years earlier. I'm pretty sure Cade and Scotty. I swear there was somebody else on that team too. That was there. It's gonna drive me crazy that I don't remember who it is. Yeah, let's just go back to the video.
transition is from going to like a more traditional high school to like and maybe my assessment of Montverde is wrong, but like I put it in there with like Sierra Canyon and like Modern Day, and just in terms of schools that are like, it's a hoop school to me. Like that's where like athletes go. Like
Right.
first of all, am I
The
wrong?
setup is a lot different though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a international school almost. I mean, it's probably the most diverse school in the country,
Yeah.
honestly. We're living there. We're on campus. It's a boarding school.
Mhm.
I don't think Modern Day or Sierra Canyon is that way.
No.
No.
And I mean, it's a grind. Like, it's a basketball school, but I think that's for basketball fans to say that. But I mean, our soccer team is big time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of athletes in there that are big time.
Yeah, I really just meant like it's like the high school that I went to. I've might be the most athletic person that like went there. Like there's like that's not a thing that. So like I'm just saying like there's a clear difference between like the caliber of school. I'm not saying it's like a hoop school, but it's like you're going there because you're going to whatever league it is of the sport that you play. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, like IMG Academy, if we're talking about, because Montverde's in Florida, right? I think it is. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You guys saw in a video earlier, I was like, hey, I don't fucking research this shit. I'm just doming it. Like, IMG Academy is who I would think of for football. I totally understand the point, and I was annoyed that I said hoop school, because I did just mean it in the sense that it's like an athlete school. But like Montverde football, does that exist? I don't even know.
So after you do that, you go to Oklahoma State. You guys go to the tournament, and then you declare for the draft. And then on draft night, you pull the buffs out. Now, we talked a little bit before this about what I'm going to be doing, but you pulled real buffs out. We're going to show you something in a little bit, and you're going to see what my reaction was to when we found out that we were drafting you.
I also want to say this. I was the one that asked to bleep this video, and our producers were like, if you wanted to bleep it, like, you didn't have to swear. And I was like, no, man, like, that's just part of that's just part of the brand. But because I knew that Cade hadn't done a ton of press, I think up to this point, like, he had done a few interviews. I think the most, like, quote unquote major one that he had done, just off the top of my head, was the pre-draft one that he did with JJ Redick on the Old Man and the Three. And I don't even think the Pistons had won the lottery at the time. Like, I think Oklahoma State was fresh off of getting bounced in the tournament, if memory serves. So he didn't even know that he was probably coming to Detroit. So because I knew people in the organization were going to see this, obviously, of course, my family, and this video was going to live for a long time. While I was fine with it being bleeped, because I actually think bleeps are like funnier sometimes than the actual swear words. I wanted to make it, a little bit more, I guess, friendly, while also still maintaining who I was at the time. So
I don't have this on camera. When you pulled the buffs out, my physical reaction was like, oh my God, he's here. Like, he's really doing this. Whose idea was that? And like, how long had you known that you were going to be doing that? Because you also had to know that Detroit was going to draft you, which we knew we were going to.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. I didn't really know until the day of the draft.
Okay.
That I'm
that's
going.
That's what Troy maintains.
Right. He kept it professional.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
I got to follow up there in a second.
Right. But yeah, I mean, me and Ashton Cannon,
his cousin.
I can't remember who said it at first, but I just felt like knowing that I'm going to Detroit, it was just a golden opportunity for real. And I mean, it worked out. It all played out well, I think.
I don't know if this is putting you on the spot again. If it is, like, you can tell me.
Right.
Troy sits up there, and he doesn't, and he's like, we didn't know until the morning of that we were drafting Cade. Is there like a part of you that's like, not like, why didn't you know sooner? But like, you know what I mean? Like,
I had no idea, because this question was coming to me in real time, and I was judging it off of vibes. I was like, I think I can get away with asking him this question. And then I start to read his body language. I'm like, he is still smiling. Like, I think I can get away with asking this. And the reason I had that pause and I held it was because I was like, I don't know how to say this without it just being aggressive. And then I was like, fuck it, just make it aggressive. And it worked. It worked, kids. Follow your gut.
Like, do you appreciate the due diligence that he put into that, and like the severity of that task?
And I balanced it out by adding this part. If you add the second part, you give him the out. So I'm not putting it on him to be like, tell everyone that your GM is an asshole. I was like trying to steer him in the right direction.
Like, how does that make you feel when he says something like that?
Yeah, I'm a little prideful sometimes. And I mean, I felt like, it was like, why are you even thinking so hard about the decision?
Right.
Obviously, but I mean, he has a job to do. There's a lot of people that are putting a lot of pressure on him to make the right decision. So, I mean, the way that he, vetted everybody and tried to really analyze everybody's game and see who he really wanted.
Yeah.
He came out with me, and I mean, I'm happy to be in Detroit. So it was tough at first, but
I one time talked to.
So we had to cut. There's a hard cut right there, and you'll figure out. I think it's right here in a second what happened. We had to cut like 10 seconds because the lighting that we were using, the bulb above Cade, went out. And so there was like I was in the middle of asking something, the light goes out, and I kind of like panicked and looked at my producers, and they were just like, keep going. And so I was like, okay. And then we had them, and there were some people who like worked in that building who they were just like on the fly, like trying to push it together. They did an amazing job. And you'll actually see in a second, if you look at Cade's hair, you'll actually kind of see it light up, and that's them getting the light back on.
Luke Kennard, and I did not ask
Watch
this,
right here.
and I was shelled for it. This was when he was obviously playing for the Pistons.
Yeah.
See the shrub moving? That's them
I didn't
like
ask him if he was pro-teal. If he was pro or anti-teal. This is obviously super hot button.
Right, it definitely is.
It is.
And I'm definitely pro-teal. Most definitely.
Will you do me a favor?
Which camera?
Thank you. Will you look into this camera?
Let me know.
Will you look into this camera and say, I, Cade Parker Cunningham, you don't have to say
Nah.
Just say, I am pro-teal. I'm pro-teal. Give me a headline.
It's Cade Cunningham from the Detroit Pistons, and I'm pro-teal.
I don't know how many of you know this, but when the Pistons brought the teal back, they used that audio clip. So to the Pistons out there, you are fucking welcome. To the Pistons fans out there who wanted the teal to come back and you got that awesome promo video, again, not a victory lap guy, but you are fucking welcome for putting his ass on the spot and making him do that. The Cade Parker Cunningham thing was just because I had, again, in real time, I was just like, it was a vibes thing. I was like, this is going to get him. He'll like this. And I think he did.
Love it. Thank you. Obligatory. I asked you this. You know what? We are going to do this now. I said I was gonna give you the floor to do this. Folks, if you want to lean in here with me. I consume a lot of the media that Cade Cunningham is involved in, not just the games that he's in, but like pretty much every post-game availability. I will like watch if it's available, and I'll see what you say. And I hear people ask these same questions over and over and over and over again. So we're gonna dead that, and I'm gonna do you a favor. One question that people need to stop asking Cade Cunningham. Go ahead.
The one question that I hear all too much. There's got to be well, I almost want to reenact it almost.
You want me to do it how I did it before?
Right, because you had the voice on. It was perfect.
All right, cool.
It was perfect.
So what happened was when he first got there, I was in the bathroom and I didn't know because they were running like 15 minutes late. So I was like, I got to piss. So I run to the bathroom. I come out and there was no commotion. There was no noise. I didn't know that anybody had just gotten there, but he and like his mini like little entourage, was like him and his agent, I think. And then she was with, I don't remember who else was there, but they're just kind of walking around like dapping people up. And, eventually I kind of like swoop in and I'm like, hey dude, like it's me. And to break the ice, I had mentioned something about, what we're doing here. And I kind of did like this impression of what most beat reporters, not even just Pistons ones, but like any reporters who could get their hands on Cade, what they sounded like talking to Cade. And he thought it was funny. And then so him asking to like, let's reenact it. I was like, holy shit, I'm so in.
Cade, you coming out of Oklahoma State, there were a lot of expectations. I mean, it's been surrounding you since you were 15 years old. You've been kind of around this your entire life. The expectation coming into Oklahoma State was that you were going to be the number one pick. And then sure enough, well, you were. So not just the expectations of that, but
to come into this franchise that has this championed history, winning 3 in the last 30 or 40 years. What is it like for you to have to navigate those expectations as the number 1 pick?
And scene. So this question is asked every interview, about the pressures.
It really was.
Number 1 pick.
Sure.
And it's tough. I feel like I'm rewording my answers now. I feel like I'm cheating the fans on really, giving them insight about who I am.
But that's on the reporter, is it not? Ask better questions.
I got shit for
And
that.
So with that, I just say
Oh, you're not going to say that. You're right. You're not going to say that.
So with that, I just say that, I feel like we can move on from that question a little bit. Maybe reword it a little bit better to me. And yeah, I'll give better answers.
You may do like an anger translator thing. Stop asking him that question, for God's sake. All right. Your biggest thing is the fourth quarter. And
I forgot about this. I totally forgot about this because watching me fumble with the brutal freeze frame right here, I was watching myself fumble with these cue cards, and I totally forgot that there was just like too many of them and they were too big. At this point in the interview, I pretty much just ditched the cue cards.
I'm not going to lie. I knew you could do that. Like, I knew that, like, when it was crunch time, like, just it's Cade's music. The Boston game just the other night, you and Isaiah in the final minute of the game, the SWAT that you guys had. That was like, was it you or more him?
It's crazy. I didn't even know. Like, I didn't see him. He was behind me.
Mm-hmm.
I went, and when I jumped, I knew I could block it. So I blocked it, and it just felt like it was the most boosted block I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Like a hand from God. I didn't know where. I'm like, what? And he behind me, he blocking it too. And I landed, I didn't even realize he blocked it until then.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Until afterward.
Yeah.
Everybody was hyping him up. I'm like, I thought I blocked the shot. And everybody was boosting Isaiah. And I mean, it was a good stop regardless.
Oh, it was great.
I was turned up.
It was a great win.
Yeah, that was a funny play. It was a weird feeling play though.
Watching it unfold live was super surreal, especially because of the comeback that had already been happening in that game. But for what it's worth, my tweet that night, immediately after it happened,
What'd you tweet?
I said, Cade, Isaiah, SWAT team, let's go. So I gave you both credit for it.
Sir.
But anyways, where I was going with that is we know when it's the fourth quarter, like that's when you cook, right? If it's not the fourth quarter, I need you to do me a favor. How do we know that Cade's in his bag? Like, fill in the if Cade does this thing, we know he's doing like a heat check. We know he's in his bag. We know he's getting in that mode. What do you do?
I'll say I do my little yell at the ground sometimes. It's just natural. I don't know why I do that.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
I say that's definitely a sign. I don't really do too much celebration in there.
Mm-hmm. But do you have like a dribble package that you want to go to? Do you have a specific move? Like, are you stepping back a little bit more when you're feeling it? You know what I mean? Like, you kind of get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You crossed up the MVP.
He did.
You hit a 3 right between Jokic's eyes, right here. We all saw it. The game that you had 34. Can I say the most impressive thing about that game?
What was it?
You know how many free throws you had in that game?
0.
0.
You
know how hard it is to score 30 in this league with 0 free throws? You know how many guys that
it's been a bunch of games where I've had 0 free throws.
Well, see,
it's been a lot of that this year.
Okay, you're gonna hear me. He still can't get a whistle. By the way, that's still the fucking case. I start to slip here because I was like, I just didn't want him to get in trouble. I was like, even though what he's saying is fucking hilarious and I want to sink my teeth into it so bad and go along with it, I was like, I don't want to get him fined. So I was just trying to move on. But he was right. He was only right.
And especially recently.
I'm trying to get to the line, man. I'm trying to get to the
They're
line.
not giving you the calls. I'm trying
to.
Do you think okay, you know what? I didn't want to ask this question because I think it's boring. But I have to ask this. Because you're an NBA player and you're a rookie. And I haven't heard anybody ask you this yet.
Yeah.
So, have you had your welcome to the league moment yet?
Yeah, I'll probably say the 2 Anthony Davis blocks was probably my moment. Both of them
That
I
was
thought he
bad.
wasn't gonna get to.
Yeah.
The layup I thought I had him
Bad.
beat.
Sure.
Jump shot I thought he was too far back,
Sure.
and he went and got both. So I'll probably say that.
Do you know? I asked about the Buffs earlier. Do you know that to this day is still like half of the fans' profile picture on Twitter?
You know, it's crazy. When I first got to Detroit, I want to say more people were coming up to me like, "No, you the one that put the Buffs on. Then you're Cade Cunningham, or you play basketball, anything. Like kids, you put the Buffs on. You had the Buffs on TV.
They're like,
I hear that more. I heard that so much.
What they're like?
I feel like that was what people really.
That's how they identified you as the guy who put the Buffs on. You're the dude from that Babytron song. You know about Babytron?
Definitely. Pull the Buffs out my jacket.
You Babytron? Hey, say that again. Look into this camera. Say that.
Pull the Buffs out my jacket. Cade Cunningham. Shout out Babytron.
All right, we're gonna wrap up here in just a second. I got 2 more things for you.
I still, by the way, can't fucking believe that part happened. The whole like Teal thing was amazing. Like but I still cannot. And because of that, Babytron followed me on Twitter like the day that this released. And I was getting out of a lift, like going into the office, and I saw the Twitter notification, and I sat on the sidewalk outside of the office. The lift starts pulling away, and I just start like screaming at the top of my lungs. I was like, fuck! Babytron! I couldn't believe it. Back to the video.
Okay.
Let's do it.
1, are you a hooper or a basketball player?
Oh, Jesus
I'm
Christ.
a gamer.
No, hooper or basketball player.
I'm a gamer, man. I'm a player. I go.
Can I tell you what I think you are? Since you
What?
want to take the diplomatic route, I think you're a basketball player.
Basketball player.
But
What's the difference then?
It's a philosophical question. And to me, being a basketball player means you're a winner, and a hooper means that you're a loser. I think there are guys in your draft class that are hoopers, and they're going to be losers. And I think that there are guys who are basketball players, and they're going to be winners. To me, a basketball player is like you think they're an all-encompassing thing. And
if you guys want to know the actual truth about this, if you want me to give any sort of spiel on it at all, because it's like, Nick, if you were going to play this video, you knew this part was going to come up. Yeah. You want to know something that sucks? Is when we were at, first of all, I would stand by this. Like, I don't, whatever. I still believe the Hooper basketball player thing, like, whatever. What I do think is funny is this video went through several, like, rough cuts. And after the first rough cut that I saw, I said to one of our editors, or producers, I was like, you think we should cut that part out? Like this very specific, like 5-second segment. And they were like, I think you're okay. And then like the day before the video premiered, I was like, do you think we're going to be okay with that in there? And they're like, it's no big deal. Like people think it's funny. And then it comes out. And by the end of the weekend, I'm banned from the internet. Like I'm not on anything. I'm kicked off of everything. I don't even have a job anymore. Like the way that went downhill in retrospect over like a 3-second, which I'm not going to play it, but over like a 3-second clip is like, it sucks because it happened to me, but if it happened to anybody else, that's the funniest shit in the world. And that's why I get that people still like to talk about it, because it is objectively hilarious. Back to the video.
And you play defense. A game manager as like a quarterback.
Yeah.
If you're
Okay.
Yeah. So to me, being a basketball player is the best thing you can be.
It's tough to be a game manager in basketball.
Agreed. And it's different in basketball. In basketball, it's good.
If you can control in that court, I mean, if you manage in the court,
Yeah.
Chris Paul, I'll give Chris Paul his flowers. He's the best game manager I've seen so
100%.
far.
And he's another one of those hybrids, but I think he's Hooper and basketball player. I got one last thing for you.
Let's do it.
I've been in contact with a lot of people over the last few months trying to show you this damn video.
Uh-huh.
We talked about James Edwards before these cameras came on. I told you I'd do the show with James.
Yeah.
I said, James, I need you to show this video.
This show right here.
Of course. He didn't show you the video, did he?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't show you no damn video. We got something for you. This is as the lottery is happening, just to give you some backstory, this is my live reaction to the NBA lottery as it's happening.
Number 3. Oh my God, it's Cleveland. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's happening. Who's making the second pick? Oh my God. Cade Cunningham! Oh my God, man, Cade Cunningham! Oh my God, NBA, you shouldn't have! Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham!
Hey, this is great.
There you go. That was
my man.
That's how excited I was when I knew. And obviously,
I
that's only the
appreciate
lottery,
that,
so I was
man.
just assuming that we were going to draft you. Right.
Right. This is big time.
Last thing, and then we'll wrap up. What does Cade Cunningham need to do in order to win Rookie of the Year? What's left?
I think I just gotta be consistent these last 25 games, and then just go, be aggressive, play hard. You know, try to win some games, try to have a good little record the last 25 games. I feel like if we try to create an identity in this last little spurt before going into the next season, then I think we would be able to get the snowball rolling and, you know, keep going. So for me, like I said, just being aggressive, keep going.
For sure.
Staying locked in, staying consistent.
I got thoughts on next season, but I don't want to get you in trouble for tampering. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this.
Folks, why am I signing off like it's him? That's the Cade interview, man. That's the Cade interview, and for better or for worse, man, like it altered the trajectory of my life in a way that, you know, for a while felt irrevocable, but I fucking love this guy so much, and I look back on it and I'm just so thankful for that opportunity. And when I talk about the ebbs and flows of my journey, which is the good one, an ebb or a flow? Probably a flow, right? This would be one of the flows. I still can't believe that we got to sit in a room together. Even coordinating this was crazy. Like, I was able to pick from, it was Davion Mitchell, Cam Johnson, and Cole Anthony were the three players that they originally came to me and were like, we think we can get one of these guys for All-Star Weekend. And the order that I picked was Cam Johnson, Davion, and then Cole Anthony. And then what ended up happening was, like, 3 weeks into that process, they finally told me that they had been sneaky behind the scenes working on getting Cade. They just didn't want to tell me that because they didn't want me to get my hopes up. And then like a week before we were set to fly out, they finally were like, we got him. Like, we did it. So, you know, for all the shit that I went through with this company and with, you know, everything that happened, like, I still just am so thankful. And I hope you guys have had fun with this, man. Let's wrap up the show. What a wild and almost like fever dreamish episode of the Coping Hour this ended up being. It's like very cathartic in some ways. And although I you know, we were like halfway through and I was like thinking about the Spotify listeners and I was like, there's no way, right? Like, there's just no way that this ended up turning out. So I do really apologize for that, because I don't really like to alienate like half of the listeners who are listening to this on Spotify. So we'll be back to normal a week from today. We will be back to a normal episode of the Coping Hour. It stinks that I'm not really going to get a chance to watch any of the college football games this weekend, like in probably the best slate that we've had all season, in the most consequential slate regardless, right? But when we come back, we'll have college football playoff rankings. We'll have all these results, and we'll just get to talk about the natty. We'll get to talk about the playoff and, you know, who got left out and all this bullshit. But until then, everybody, I love all of you so much, so unbelievably much. It is impossible to articulate. And say a prayer for me in Puerto Rico, just that I don't, like, end up too hungover and, like, die. I don't think I'm going to go that hard. I don't know why I'm talking about this like I'm going to go on a bender. Like, I'm going to have, like, 2 drinks a day. You know, I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm going to drink a lot of water. Just sit on the beach. Hang out in the ocean. Such a sicko for the ocean, dude. And if I don't get a damn stroopwafel on the plane, I'm going to be sick. Because I know I'll get one on the way back when we fly United. I will get a stroopwafel, but if I don't, I'm going to be sick to my stomach. If you're in Puerto Rico, maybe I'll throw up a community post or something when I'm down there. Maybe I don't know if you guys want to come not hang out. I don't want to hang out with you guys. We're on vacation. But alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, be sure to subscribe. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can also rate 5 stars. I love all of you. I will catch you guys
Now
in the next
primary
one.
control.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful.